Gamma Java. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Dear students, today it's my pleasure to introduce you our instructor, Boris Goncharov. Hello, Boris.
Hey guys.
He will be leading our course for Certified Ethical Hacker. And today you will be able to learn more about his experience and more details about the course, certification, and cybersecurity skills and market. Boris, tell our students more about yourself, your experience, and how many years are you in IT industry?
Oh man, that's kind of a tough question to answer. I mean, it's been so long since I started my career in cybersecurity. And I consider myself kind of a veteran already, which for our profession is kind of weird, but let me explain what I mean. I started approximately, roughly, maybe 18 years ago, cybersecurity, which for this industry is quite a lot of time. And back then, we didn't have enough source of information, let's say. It was very difficult to learn cybersecurity. It was very difficult to go into the depths of this profession because we don't have enough, access to the tools or the knowledge that we have today. But from the other hand, cybersecurity was fascinating for me, and actually still is, because it's actually one of the most interesting professions that you can actually, choose for yourself, for your career. It's maybe because it's always on the move, it's always changing, it's always progressing to some new frontiers. So that's why actually what drove me to this profession, to cybersecurity, because nothing was set in stone. Everything was just created as we learn from it. Because technology is evolving all the time, and also cybersecurity alongside with it. And this is actually what was curious and interesting for me, because this profession is for the people who wants to be challenged, who wants to learn all the time, constantly. And that dynamic, that's kind of this kind of let's say challenge. It's interesting for me. So when I started, it was basically empty field of possibilities. And I very quickly realized that cybersecurity is not about just computers or just some algorithms or stuff like that. I very quickly realized that cybersecurity is actually about a lot of things. It's also about human behavior. It's also about physical security. It's all these things, all these disciplines are actually coming together to form, let's say, cybersecurity, information security, they're kind of used interchangeably, but information security is a more accurate term that we can use today. So all these disciplines are united in this field, information security. And that's what actually also was interesting for me, because it's not only one thing, it's so many, you have so many aspects, so many things to kind of consider. And I also realized that information security is going to be something vital for the future of every company on the planet, every organization that actually process information or have any kind of digital systems in their premises, or they're using services. I quickly understood that if these companies wants to be in the future, they need to consider cybersecurity or information security. So, and this realization made me think of, first of all, that this career has a bright future, one thing. Secondly, it's going to be so important for every organization that basically the demand is also going to be very high. But also I realized that I want to help companies. I want to help, first of all, my company, what I was used to work with. And I also wanted to make sure that I have an impact on the, as much as I can on a lot of organizations. And that's actually what's interesting about this. I felt that I can make a difference. I can teach people, or I can educate them about this brand new, let's say, frontier, and they can prove themselves. So this was basically one of my main motivations to go into to do this. It wasn't about money or something else. It was just purely about this this challenge, this new thing coming to us, and the desire to help others. That's actually what draws me to this. And since then, I started to kind of grow very quickly in my career, or I started to educate myself. And back then, there was nobody there who can help me and give me a helping hand and say, listen, you need to go through this road, and you have to learn this first, and then go to that place. No, there was nobody there actually when I started, and I learned from my experience mostly.
Yes, we know each other for over 15 years.
Yeah,
when you start searching for cybersecurity, and
exactly.
we quickly realize your potential and capacity, and you become one of our top trainers.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm sharing now one information published in World Economic Forum for 2020. Mm-hmm. This is on the screen. And can you comment the influence of this cyber attacks effects?
Yeah, I mean, that's so, let's say, obvious that sometimes I wonder myself whether I should even start to explain something like that. But it became as the cybersecurity is a basic in terms of, let's say, a fundamental problem for the humanity, not for organizations or for big companies or whatever, or big tech. It's a problem that affects everyone on that planet, regardless of whether these people are using computer systems or not, or technology for that extent, for that matter. So it's very simple, because everything we do in our societies heavily depends on technology. And this technology is susceptible inherently to a lot of risks. So since our economies, our critical infrastructure, our daily lives depends on this technology, obviously cybersecurity is top priority, because if this technology is not available, or if this technology is compromised, all these aspects of our social lives, of our economies, of our infrastructure will fail. And this can have a dramatic effect on our societies. So that's why cybersecurity is so important. Of course, the only thing that is more important in cybersecurity, of course, is human life, obviously, and human health. And of course, we cannot compare COVID with cybersecurity problems. I mean, this is two separate things. But after this, immediately after, health concerns or physical well-being of humans, the next thing that's on the chart is cybersecurity. So regardless of whether this is something that, what can be from things that is important or whatever, we cannot avoid that problem. We see it all the time. We are exposed to it 24/7. We cannot pretend it doesn't exist, because everything we do involves technology. Almost everything we do involves technology. So that's why it's so fundamentally important. And that's why we also see cyber criminals, realizing this. And also they are going through a digital transformation themselves. Because if you, of course, obviously, if you're concentrating money or risk in whatever area of our life, this draws, of course, also the opposite thing, which is, crime. And after, realizing that, of course, that these cybercrime organizations, whatever, they are, of course, part of this world, and they want to benefit from that. As we have also see this spike of cybercrime going up and up every year. And obviously this is going to evolve even more, and it's going to become even bigger problem because, again, everything is related to technology, everything. And also, as we see, this staggering number of 10.5 trillion, it's actually underestimated, if you ask me. But nevertheless, this number is huge. And this is only growing exponentially every year. And this actually demonstrates, how big of a problem this is for our economies. What's the monetary impact on our societies? So it's really a staggering number to consider.
What kind of cyber attacks have you seen?
Well, that's not really an easy question to be answered, because you have a very many actually different aspects to consider here. If we're talking, if we're talking about state level attacks, these are, different ball game. If we're talking about organizational level attacks, which is mostly financially driven attacks, this is, of course, naturally they are related to economic model of cybercrime, which is how to make more money in less time by cyber criminals. That's why we mostly see attacks that are easy to do, difficult to overcome, and profitable in nature. Consumerization of cybercrime, so to speak. So that's why we see so many ransomware attacks. That's why we see so many social engineering attacks, stuff from that nature. That's why, because they are very easy to carry out. They don't require too many expertise, and they're very easy to benefit from and to cash out. That's why, and mostly, you have to realize something very important here is that cyber criminals are working like every commercial organization, which means that they are driven by market needs. They are driven by demand. They are driven by the same market principles that we apply for our organizations. And if there is a demand, there is a supply. And also what's actually drives them is that, economy of scale model and, quality of service, which sounds bizarre, but that's what actually drives this type of attacks. And we're going to see more and more in the coming years, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So it is obvious that demand for professionals that know cybersecurity is growing as attacks will grow exponentially. The same we may expect that demand for the good cybersecurity professionals also will grow without any doubt. And on the slide I share, usually we speak only as a conversation, but because there's a complex topic, I show the career path of different professionals that a company may need to employ.
Yeah.
And our project includes 3 different trainings. One fundamental of security. This is EasyCouncil certified security specialist. Another one is a little bit high level compared to the first one. This is CompTIA Security Plus. And the third one is training that you will teach. This is certified ethical hacker. But also there's other types of specialists. Can you tell us typical profile of companies that need each of these specialists?
Sure.
Fundamental specialist, security plus, ethical hacker, and so on.
Absolutely. Well, you very well actually pointed out that we're in a huge deficit of qualified professionals in this area, and that's actually a huge concern because, to simply put it, we don't have the people. They're just not there. You cannot find them even if you want to. So this actually again reminds me of my past, because when I started, I needed to start from somewhere. I started with something which was more comprehensive in terms of training, but gradually I started to go more deep into technical things, and then management things and stuff like that. I hold multiple certifications from the industry, but I was doing this because I wanted to know more, because I wanted to gain understanding of how things work, what's actually behind these, let's say, vulnerabilities, what's behind the problems, even nuts and bolts, if I may say so. So my understanding, for a security professional, and I'm going to distinguish these different levels that we have here, but if you want to be a security professional, number one thing that we have to realize is that that's not really one thing. You cannot simply concentrate on just one area of cybersecurity. Say, listen, I'm an expert in this area. Of course, this is my opinion, but I can justify this very easily. If you are kind of a management position in cybersecurity, you cannot advise organization if you don't understand the technical problems below, because you are going to give a very distorted and incorrect advice to your fellow colleagues, because you will not understand the nature of the problems. If you don't understand the nature of the problem, you cannot solve that problem. So it appears that the cybersecurity professionals have to understand almost everything in that field, which is to some extent true. You have to have a broader understanding of all these things related, all the areas of cybersecurity, which is kind of a vast knowledge base that you have to gain. But, and also you have to realize something very important is that to become a security professional, you need a lot of time and a lot of dedication, a lot of time, and a lot of knowledge set, and also practical experience. But let's go back to this pyramid here and discuss what we are starting from. Fundamental level of training is mostly related to have a basic understanding of what cybersecurity means to regular users, let's say, or to regular, let's say, professional who is actually just beginning its career, or he wants to understand what are the basics from that point of view. And also this can be also useful for end users, for IT specialists, and all this kind of things. But mostly, fundamental training is focusing on the users. So that's number one thing. So this is applicable to every organization which is using digital technology.
Yes.
Basically every company on the planet. Mm-hmm. And then you can move up depending on what kind of technology you have, what kind of knowledge base you want to gain. But also ethical hacker course, it may be sometimes misleading because of course this will not make you ethical hacker or hacker for that extent just by going through this training. But this is a core. That's why it's core training, because this gives you the perspective, the offensive perspective of the opposite of the people living on the opposite side of the line, which is important because we need to understand how things are working from an offensive point of view. In order to make sure that you can write defenses in place, you have to understand also the offenses. So, and this training gives you the basic, let's say, level of understanding of what attack vectors you may face in your organization, what can be the impact and stuff of that nature. So it can be useful for many roles, as this is written here, and also for, again, the application of this training. It's basically can be useful for many organizations, maybe excluding some very small companies. Then again, you go and grow and open up and became more and more knowledgeable about different aspects of cybersecurity domain. So certified ethical hacker is a good way to gain this basic understanding and knowledge of offensive aspects of cybersecurity.
What kind of prerequisites need this program? For example, EasyCouncil security specialist is to expand skills of current system administrators to start thinking about the security.
Yeah.
And what other trainings have as a prerequisite?
Well, these are not really written in stone, don't get me wrong, but it's advisable, whoever is going through this, let's say, to have a basic IT, let's say, skills. And this person has to be aware of course, how operating system works, basic networking concepts, and stuff of that nature, web applications, how they work. So these sort of things: Linux operating system, Microsoft Windows operating system, networks, and basically understanding web application and stuff like that. Basically, that's what actually is required. It's not really to be an expert in these fields, but at least you need to have some experience and some knowledge from that point of view. Otherwise, and you can still go through this training, but you may face a lot of challenges to grasp some of the attacks that are happening, or understand the different, let's say, aspects from technical point of view. So this can be more challenging for a person who doesn't have that kind of experience. So that's actually, the requirements. I don't call this requirements normally. I say, well, something that it's good that if you have that knowledge, but if you don't, you can challenge yourself, but the challenge will be greater compared to people who are having that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. On this slide, we show the career path of our partner, EasyCouncil. They are one of the leading global companies in this area of cybersecurity. They are starting from the bottom, from the end user for all administrators, and going up to the security for the chief security officer. Of course, our project is only concentrated on some of the topics. And I go to the other of our partners, CompTIA. This is also a big American association. Actually, this is association of American companies in the computer industry, and they are focused to create professionals that are needed in this IT industry. And this is the roadmap for security from the very beginning, coming to Security Plus, and then further specialization.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they have, as you can see from these guys, they have sort of a more, it's not drastically different approach, but let's say it's they realize that you need, if you're going through this, let's say you just finish your school or university, whatever, you want to start, making your career, you're making your progress in cybersecurity. this is your starting point. So you need to have, if you don't have the right skill sets in place, don't have experience whatsoever, so you have to start from somewhere. And that's why CompTIA it's very practical in many ways, because they start from with really basic fundamental computer, fundamentals, network fundamentals, and security fundamentals, security plus network plus A plus. So all these things actually are devised in a way that you will build your basic knowledge, which you're definitely gonna need if you want to progress further with security. Because without these things, obviously, you cannot be a security expert, because you cannot, again, protect something if you don't understand this something. I mean, this is actually impossible. And just a side note here is that it's very important to realize that security is all about understanding technology. That's number one thing, because it's not like you go some YouTube videos or whatever, and there are some tools that you just type some commands in a terminal screen or stuff like that. This is not security. If you have to understand the technology, and that's why I like CompTIA as an example, because they have the right, let's say, the right foundation in place, because you start from basic requirements. I'm sorry, and then you go to security. Without these basic things, you cannot skip steps here, unfortunately. That's why I like that, because it gives you these required things that you need to have in order to progress further. And this is, again, I cannot stress this enough. You cannot name yourself a security professional if you do not understand technology that you're trying to protect. That's simply impossible, or close to impossible, let's put it that way. You have to understand that. So that's why you have to build this and gain this knowledge and progress your career. That's why CompTIA is very, let's say, very useful to build up this understanding and skills.
Okay, I will share a few words about this, our partner for ethical hacker, this EasyCouncil. We see in the world over 200,000 certified members. And this year, we turn our partnership turns 10 years with this company. And some of the companies, some organizations in the world, like American Army, Department of Defense, Microsoft, IBM, United Nations, they implement EasyCouncil certifications as some of their requirements for employment or for professional development. So if our students choose this roadmap, they can know that one of the most strict in the security requirements organization, this American Department of Defense, includes these trainings as recognized qualifications.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share your opinion? What kind of companies need to have a certified ethical hacker in their team?
I'm kind of prejudiced about this, because I can easily say every company having computer systems or digital technology in their, in their hands. So that's very easy answer. But this is something that a lot of companies are failing to realize, is that you need to tackle this problem head on, and you need to do it now. And you should not wait to, let's say, something to happen, or to find, let's say, some piece of knowledge that it's kind of coming from other planets or something like that. Every company processing data is part of this problem. And every company that has, let's say, at least the desire to, let's say, to prosper or to build, deliver their services to their customers for the foreseeable future, they are, they have to realize that without security, there is no success in the business. There is no future for the business. So that's why very easily you can argue that you need this kind of professionals in every company dealing with digital technology. Maybe there are some companies that are not really, mostly, let's say, physical world, and they don't touch technology. Probably there are some companies like that. But besides this, every company. And why is ethical hacking? Well, I told you before, it's about understanding, first of all, how technology by itself is exposed to a risk, what the other guys are capable of, and what are the tools and means to compromise your technology that you're dealing on a daily basis. Offensive aspect of things. So you have the basic knowledge of the technology, you know how this technology can be vulnerable, and also you learn how this is actually happening in real life, or let's say close to real life. So that's actually what this training can give you, this different level of understanding of cybersecurity. So that's why it's applicable to so many companies, so many entities everywhere on that planet, at least. Maybe when we go to Mars, probably going to need this as well there. But for now, let's focus on planet Earth and all the possible organization that is actually dealing with technology here. Everybody can benefit from that.
I would add that is looking for return of investment. Even cyber criminals, they are looking for better return of investment in their time. If your infrastructure is a little bit more secure than what is available around you, then there's very high probability that hackers will not go to intrude your infrastructure, but will go on some other easier locations. So it is in many cases, unless you or your organization is the target, we can say that in many cases, just improving your security can make you less attackable.
Let me say something here which is very important to understand, is that cybersecurity, most of it is not a technical problem. It's a business problem, which means that it actually closely relates to the success of the business. And a lot of companies are looking at cybersecurity as a cost, as something that needs to be done probably, but it's so painful in terms of financials or in terms of resources and stuff like that. And they are approaching this from this discomfort position. So listen, we need to spend some money on that. That's not the case. Cybersecurity is actually part of your business identity, part of who you're perceived to be in the eyes of your customers, which is something very important to remember. Because if they perceive your company as a company who is taking care of their data, a company who is taking care of, let's say, of their systems, of their services provided through technology, this has a tremendous impact on business reputation of that company, which means more sales, which means prosperity, which means success on the market. So you see, cybersecurity is actually part of the winning formula winning business formula of every organization. And if company executives are, if they try to understand cybersecurity from that point of view, it's going to be so much more easy to see the benefit of cybersecurity. It's not about, computers and nuts and bolts and binary numbers here and there. It's about making business here. It's about being successful in the market. And cybersecurity can give you this upper hand. It can give you this advantage towards your competitors. It can make your company more successful and prosperous. That's something to remember. And if this is not cost benefit, I don't know what it is. Having more customers, having more happy customers, and making more money from the market. And deliver quality services, not only making money, but deliver quality and reliable service to your customers. That's the essence of the business. That's the essence of being cost beneficiary.
Can you tell a bit more details about the course Ethical Hacker? How this is going to happen?
Well, normally in this kind of trainings, you go through some theory, some background about, let's say, if we are talking about networks, obviously need to discuss different, let's say, aspect of networking as a discipline, let's say, network, let's say, layers and TCP/IP model, OSI model, stuff like that. So we go through the concepts first. We try to explain, how technology is working and what are the, let's say, the basic elements of this technology and, what you should know about that. Then we are going to the vulnerabilities associated with this technology. Because every technology is inherently vulnerable to different things, right? So we explain what are the main issues, the main weaknesses, how these weaknesses can be exploited. And then there is a practical element to this, which is, doing things with your own hands and, using tools or stuff that's available, or basically applying that, knowledge of, how this system can be compromised, or this technology, how it can be compromised. And we do some practical labs, sessions. Every student is going through this, and he's trying to. We have this lab, let's say, narrative, and everyone tries to replicate this and make sure that he grasps and understand how practically this should work, and going through that, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of not only just theory, but also doing things with your own hands and applying that concepts in real life situations or simulated environment in this case.
Can you tell a bit more information about the Ethical Hacker exam? What kind of exam is this?
Well, this type of exam now EasyCouncil started to realize in time that because initially it was only theoretical exam, and now they have very interesting understanding that you need to also have a practical exam, which is basically have that system and hack it. So that's practical, right? Well, we can argue how close this is to reality is really, but that's a different discussion. But this exam that our students will go through is theoretical in nature. It's cognitive, which means that you have cognitive questions, which means that you have some sort of a scenario described in the question, in which you have to find the best possible approach or to apply concept associated with this situation in security. And normally you have 4 answers, possible answers, and you need to select the best possible answer to that question. Unfortunately, some of these questions will be related to some tools or some techniques which you have to know by your heart. You have to remember some of the, let's say this, some of the, how to use some of the tools and stuff like that. But mostly these questions are cognitive in nature, which is good because they're trying to depict a real life situation in which you have to make a decision or apply a certain set of knowledge that you've gained from the training.
In your opinion, how will certification as an ethical hacker help students in their professional career?
Listen, in security, I get this question a lot actually. First, number one thing, just having a certification doesn't mean that you are, let's say, battled, let's say, proven, professional. No, that's not really how it works in the real life. And that's very obvious. So just by completing 5-day course will not make you professional in 5 days. I mean, you have to be really naive to believe that this is the case. So what's the value? First of all, of course, the value is about obtaining knowledge. And that's number one thing. And that's why through our trainings, we don't just follow strictly what the book says or stuff like that. We try to go into some concept deeply and deeply to make sure that the people understand the problem. But in terms of credibility, every security certification is a part of a very particular problem in security, which is called assurance. And that's a very obvious problem to solve. Because let's say if you have a person coming to work for your company and he makes any kind of a claim, let's say, I am the biggest security guy, professional on the planet, you should appoint me. You have two options, basically, to believe him or to ask for some credentials, a proof that whatever he says reflects the reality. Otherwise, it's going to be his word against, everything else. So I always say that cybersecurity is not a religion. So if you want to believe in something, you can, go to any major religion if you're choosing. But believing is not part of security. So you need something to vouch for his claims, to kind of back up his, let's say, his assertions. Because I can give you a note from my mother saying I'm the greatest person on the planet, but obviously maybe somebody else will believe something else about me. So just to claim something that you know something doesn't automatically mean that you know it. So you need some kind of third party, let's say, proof that you know something. It's not perfect. I'm not saying this is 100% concrete evidence that you are knowledgeable, but that's something different from just claiming that you know something, right? That's assurance. Somebody outside of you and me says, listen, this guy, based on the scope of this training, we can confirm that this guy knows this or have basic understanding of this. And that's something, that's basic, it's kind of a baseline that you're pursuing. Again, it doesn't mean that you're the greatest professional on the planet and immediately you became ethical hacker or penetration tester just by completing 5-day training. Honestly, you're going to need 5 years to become something like that. But that's, at least you can prove that you have the basic level of knowledge or the baseline, and it's not just your word against, something else. So that's actually what we're talking about here.
Can you share your story when you are in beginning of your career?
Yeah.
How learning influenced you?
A lot, actually. I became obsessed, basically, of learning. And I'm still is, honestly speaking. And I will always be pro, because for me, if you're not learning, you're probably dead, most probably. And I not mean physically, I mean intellectually dead. So I really become obsessed, because I quickly realized that, you know, we are living in the 21st century. And it still amazes me how people from the technical, let's say IT and digital, let's say, professions, type of profession related to technology, they behave in the same manner as their predecessors 100 years ago. Imagine a factory in which every person is doing some specific task, you know, screwing some, you know, nuts, whatever. Like this movie from Charlie Chaplin. There was a very old movie about that. In the factory, he's just screwing some, you know, bolts or something. And people, believe it or not, even with in the modern times, they are associating themselves with the same thing, doing only one or maximum, you know, several things in their career, and, you know, be happy with it. That's amazing, because, and that's why I love cybersecurity, because you have to constantly learn new things. Nobody waits for you to kind of, you know, to mature in your knowledge or whatever. Technology is so fast, so rapidly changing. And of course, the problem that security is always running behind. So listen, guys, we need to do something about it. Security is never first and then, you know, the evolution of technology. It's always, you know, the opposite way around. So we have new things, and then, you know, security tries to keep up with these new things. So if you don't learn, you die. That's very simple. So, you know, I always said to all the students that I'm, you know, teaching this stuff is that if you think that you're going to sit in your chair in the office one day and there is nothing to learn, new things to learn, probably you're dead or you're dreaming, because this situation should not exist in a real life. So learning is number one thing to consider. You have to learn all the time. I learn when I'm in my car. I learn before going to sleep. I learn when I'm working something. I always learn. I try to make use of my time as much as I can. And you know, things that you have family or kids, whatever, doesn't apply here. Doesn't matter. If you want to be a professional, if you want to succeed in this career, I think in every career, if you want to be successful, you have to learn all the time. You should not stop learning. So that's why actually what I did, I was learning, I was hungry for stuff. I was hungry to gain more knowledge about different things. And very, very funny is when I sit in my office and I do some work for some customers or something, and they say to me something that I never heard of before, some new technology or some new system or whatever. I realize, oh my God, I have to compensate this as quickly as I can. I have to learn about these new things. That's what actually drives me. This doesn't tire me. I'm not tired of learning. And you know, this is the great thing about cybersecurity, because there's so many things that you can learn. Oh my God, that's amazing. So that's actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing, you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Boris,
for
taking time to join us today. We hope that today's interview will help our audience to make a better decision if cybersecurity career is for them or not. See you again. Our trainings will start from February and we'll finish in May. Dear students, don't forget to apply for your courses before December 30. And see you soon, and bye-bye.
See you guys. Good luck.